Hello, welcome to my video on infinitives. As you can see from the picture below, we already have an English rule about infinitives that we need to address. So if you recall from Star Trek, either the original or from The Next Generation, and I'm not sure about the other series, but they say to boldly go where no man has gone before. This is called a split infinitive. This is something you should not do in English typically. You put an adverb boldly in between your to go. We're hopefully not going to do too much of that in Latin, but I just wanted to address that in English since we are talking about them now. So let us begin after I erase this right here. Okay? Alright, so let's take some basic notes on infinitives just kind of so we know what they are. These are not finite verbs. You cannot have a sentence with just an infinitive in it. Infinitives are going to be more of the helping verbs in a sentence, okay? And we'll get to that more in the next slide. They're going to be called complementary infinitives. But some basic notes on them. Number one, they do not have person or number. This is why they're called infinitives, because they're just kind of the constant, okay, of the verb, and this is why we have such a basic translation down here to verb. Okay, so if we have the verb amare, you're going to have to love. Okay. All right. We always need another main verb. That main verb is definitely going to have a person and a number. Okay, so something in our sentence needs to have a person and number. This other main verb with a person and number, that's going to be called a finite verb. If you think about the word infinitive, okay, the word infinitive means not finite. You get your in, which negates the word finite in the word itself. So this is going to be the difference between a finite verb, which has a person and number and can make a complete sentence or a complete clause, or an infinitive, which means it's not finite and you need another verb to complete that thought. Okay? We'll get to more of that in the next slide with the complementary infinitive. But our endings are going to look a lot like this. So in the first conjugation, the first conjugation, we're going to have are, okay? In our second, you're going to have a long ere on your infinitive. In your third, you're going to have a short ere. And in the fourth, you're going to have an ire ending on the verb. You can actually find these in the second part of a dictionary entry, okay? So if you have the dictionary entry, again, amo, amare, let's just add this down here. Okay, you're looking at the second part right here. Okay, so I hope that's not too bad, and let's move on to the complementary infinitive, which is the infinitive in context. Okay. All right, let's take a look at some verbs that take complementary infinitive naturally. And I want you to start by looking just at the English here. To be accustomed. Okay, let's just hypothetically make up an English word. Let's say to jump. Okay, the verb to jump is going to be added here just to make a little more sense. So to be accustomed, let's say I am accustomed, and that doesn't really make any sense by itself, does it? So we have to say I am accustomed to jump. And I think that gives a lot more information that's really going to help us out when we're understanding how these infinitives work. You're really completing an idea. You're not just accustomed. That's not something you can just kind of walk around saying and have making any sense. You have to be able to say, I am accustomed to do something, in this case to jump. So I jump around a lot, as you know from class. Now, let's take the second one, for instance, ought. Okay, let's say I ought. That doesn't make any sense without an infinitive, all right? But I ought to jump, all right? And let's just say we have like a tripwire or something that's going to trip me up. So I ought to jump in order to save myself. To desire, to want, to be able, all of them naturally want to take that complementary infinitive to complete the idea, okay? It just doesn't make much sense without the complementary infinitive, which was the whole point of all this. It's why it's called a complementary. It's complementing one of these verbs, okay? It's completing that thought. All right, let's move on to some practice ones. All right, so let's take a look at a couple of these practice ones here. So I want you to get in the habit of always kind of labeling whatever sentence you have, whether it be something that has to do with complementary infinitives, or if we have basic transitive sentences, we have intransitive sentences, whatever you might have. I always think it's a good idea to label what we have. So if we have puella here with this A ending, this A ending tells us it's nominative, let's label it as the subject. Lupos, OS ending, we're thinking accusative plural, probably going to be the direct object. Okay. Now, when we see this cognoscere form, we see this ere at the end, so we know, okay, that's our infinitive form. So that means we're probably expecting a main verb. In fact, we are expecting a main verb still, okay? But we can start to say, okay, this is an infinitive verb. We get this and right here, okay? We get et. Et is going to be connecting two things. So we look on this side, we see, oh, impedire. You see this ire ending here again with the infinitive ending. So we say this et is probably connecting two infinitives, this one and this one. So let's label this as an infinitive verb. We're still expecting that main verb. We haven't gotten that expectation yet. All right, so here's potest, and we finally say, okay, that's our main verb. Now, some of you might not know this yet, but potest is a form of possum. Okay. It's actually the third person singular present active, so don't worry about that. It just means to be able. Okay, so let's take a look at the translation. Again, we start with our subject, the girl, and then our verb is able. And now here's where we insert these infinitives, because like I said in the last slide, you can't just say somebody is able. You have to say they're able to do something, and naturally we can add that infinitive onto that meaning. Okay, so the girl is able to recognize and to hinder the wolves. Notice that wolves is plural, just like our OS ending, plural. Okay. So I hope there's no questions on that. If there are, make sure to email me. Let's look at the second sentence. We have Caesar, Caesar Cleopatram amare audet et Aegyptum regere. So we have Caesar here in the nominative. Okay, he's third declension, and he's going to be our subject. Cleopatra with the am ending, definitely the direct object as an accusative singular. Amare we have as the infinitive verb with the are ending right here. Okay. And then we have the word audet, which we saw on the last slide, means to dare, and that naturally takes an infinitive. Okay, so that's our main verb. Now our sentence could be over, but then we see next door we have this et right here, okay? So that means we have to keep it going a little bit. Aegyptum, I'm going to tell you it means Egypt. If you look at the word, take the A off of it, it looks almost exactly like Egypt, so don't freak out about that. The ending is still second declension, and it's still accusative singular, okay? So there's a direct object. And we have regere. Now regere, we see here, is with that ere ending again, okay? So we hit that ere ending, we're saying, okay, got to be an infinitive. But now our sentence ends, okay? So that means we have to do some gapping, because all we have over on this side of the et, on this side, all we have is a direct object and an infinitive. So we still need over there a subject, and we still need a main verb, don't we? Because we don't have a verb that has a person and a number over there. All we have is an infinitive. So we need to take from the other side now, from this side over here. We need to grab Caesar and bring him. And we already have a direct object, but we need to grab audet and bring it over as well. Okay? So I'm going to erase those arrows, so I hope you got that down, so that we can translate down here. Okay, so we start off with our first sentence, first clause, and we have Caesar dares, it's our verb, right? Audet, dares. And like I said in the first one, we have one of those verbs that just naturally takes a complementary infinitive. So Caesar dares, what does he dare to do? To love. And then we have our direct object, just like normal in a transitive sentence. Cleopatra. Sorry. And to rule Egypt. Now I want you to notice we gapped in English as well, okay? Because we have the same end here, to love Cleopatra and to rule Egypt, we're assuming Caesar dares still goes with that second half, okay? Not a big deal. Okay, so I hope that infinitives are not a source of stress for you right now. And if they are, you should come see me. Definitely come see me, and we'll hopefully work them out. But yeah, that's pretty much all we can do for now. As I say goodbye, I'd like you to try to read the sentence above this video. A big hint is this guy I have with me here. This is Hermes, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in class. So have a good one, and I'll see you around.